Hey everyone, welcome. Today we're diving into one of the most raw, most honest prayers in the entire Bible, Psalm 44. It's this powerful cry from a whole community that feels completely forgotten by God. And believe me, it holds some profound lessons for us on how we can navigate our own seasons of confusion and pain. Let's get into it.
So right off the bat, the psalm doesn't kick off with a complaint. Nope, it starts with this powerful declaration of faith. And this faith isn't built on feelings or what's happening right now. It's built on the solid rock of history, the trustworthy stories passed down through generations about the incredible things God has done. And holding on to that foundation is absolutely crucial for understanding the heartbreak that's about to unfold.
So yeah, this first part is all about a faith that's anchored in history. It's about remembering God's mighty acts, because that's the starting point for everything else in this prayer. You see, for them, their whole relationship with God was built on these stories of Him showing up and intervening in history. This wasn't just some myth or legend. It was a reliable record of what God had actually done. And that solid foundation is precisely what gave them the confidence to bring their complaint directly to Him.
And here's the kicker. This whole process of remembering and retelling, it wasn't just, a good idea they came up with. It was a divine command. God Himself told His people to pass on the story of His work from one generation to the next. He wanted to make sure their faith would always be rooted in these real, historical acts of deliverance.
Okay, but here's where things get really tough. That strong foundation of faith we just talked about, that's exactly what makes what's happening now so incredibly painful. We're about to see this jarring disconnect between the God of history they know and trust and the God they feel like they're experiencing in the present.
And this is the heart of the problem, right here. On one hand, you have what their fathers told them, stories of victory, deliverance, God's mighty acts. But on the other hand, look at what they're experiencing now. Defeat, public shame, mockery, and this deep feeling of being totally forgotten by God. Their reality seems to completely contradict everything they know to be true about Him. It's a real crisis of faith.
And this feeling of being publicly humiliated, it's a deep, deep pain. And it's not the first time we see it in the Bible. Just like this verse from Lamentations describes the mockery over a fallen Jerusalem, the psalmist feels that same sting of being a public spectacle. It's a powerful reminder that God gets it. He understands this specific kind of pain, the shame of being scorned in front of the whole world.
So all this confusion and pain, it builds up to the absolute emotional peak of the psalm. It's one of the most daring, bold cries you'll find in the entire Bible, and it's aimed straight at a God who seems to have gone silent. Just let that question sink in for a moment. Wow. It's not a theological debate. It's a desperate scream. It's a cry for God to please do something, because from their perspective, it looks like He's completely inactive. Okay, so let's be clear. The psalmist doesn't actually think God is literally asleep. They knew the scriptures, right? They knew Psalm 121, which says, "He that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep." So what is this? This is the language of pure desperation. It's a poetic, gut-wrenching way of asking, God, why does it feel like you're hiding your face? Why does it feel like you've forgotten us in our deepest need? And this is such a crucial point. This cry isn't an act of disbelief, it's an act of faithful wrestling. It's just like the disciples in that boat during the storm, screaming out, "Master, don't you care that we're about to die?" Their cry was a mix of absolute terror and a deep-down belief that He was the only one who could save them. It's a powerful reminder that our God is big enough to handle our hardest questions and our rawest emotions. So, after they've laid it all out there, their history, their confusion, their raw desperation, the psalm lands in its final, most important place. All their arguments about their own faithfulness are gone, and they're left with just one plea.
And the picture they paint here, man, it's one of total defeat. Their soul is bowed down to the dust. They are crushed, unable to even lift themselves up. There is no strength left, none. And it's from this place, this rock bottom, that their whole appeal makes a critical shift.
And this, right here, is the bedrock. This is the ultimate foundation of our faith. It's an appeal based not on our goodness, but on His. They're basically crying out, we've got nothing. We bring nothing to the table. But you are a merciful God. So please act, not because of us, but because of who You are. It's the same plea Daniel makes, and it's the only foundation that will hold when everything else has crumbled. So, what about us? How do we take this incredibly powerful journey through pain and faith and apply it to our own lives? Well, this psalm doesn't just leave us in despair,
It actually gives us a roadmap for our own seasons of confusion and suffering.
So here's the path. First, we remember and retell. We anchor ourselves in what we know is true about God. From that secure place, we're given permission to lament honestly. Don't hold back. Tell Him how you really feel. Then we're called to wrestle faithfully. Ask those tough questions to God, not turning away from Him. And finally, when you feel like you've got nothing left, it teaches us to rely on mercy, to let our final plea rest on one thing and one thing only, God's good and merciful character.
And we just want to give a quick shout out to the You Need Faith in Jesus team for making this devotional explainer possible and helping us all dig a little deeper into God's Word.
And that really leaves us with the one big question this whole psalm points to. It's so easy for us to rely on our own strength, isn't it? Our own smarts, our own goodness. But what happens when all of that gets stripped away? When you have nothing left to stand on, what's left? Psalm 44 teaches us that the final unshakable foundation is and always will be the mercy of God Himself.